What's up, everybody? Blake the Scholar of Magic here. I hope you're all doing well today. Just a little FYI, almost at 300 subscribers. So let's try to hit it this time. Let's try to get all the way there. I have a nice giveaway. It's about probably like $50 worth of cards or so, and it includes like Ophelia from the new Jumpstart, a couple of cool Death Touchers, a Cityscape Leveler I added, Aurelia, some Ketria Triomes, another Triome, Lotus Cobra, and some other cards I just enjoy like Maria, Frontline Heroism, Doors of Dur, and Evora. Just really cards I just kind of enjoy a lot. And yeah, and then we'll look forward to the 400 subscriber giveaway, and it'll be a little bit better. It'll get probably a little bit better all the time. I'm trying to like kind of reduce the amount of cards I have, and I would like to liquidate some of my nicer cards just to like support the channel. And thank you all for coming back again and again and liking and commenting and such. I appreciate y'all very much. And let's just take a look. And I just can't believe this Greasefang card. It just got a lot better. The Aetherdrift set was actually a real big boon for this card. And it enabled like a lot of kind of nice things that we haven't seen on some of our vehicles before. And we'll kind of get into that to agree. But these are just the Aetherdrift vehicles, and also included in the thumbnail, one from the Bloom Barrel set as well. So if you're not familiar with this particular card, Greasefang is a 4/3 rat pilot. It has the Orzhov colors, 3 mana in total, 1 generic, 1 plains, 1 swamp. It's a legendary creature rat pilot. At the beginning of combat in your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to owner's hand at the beginning of your next end step. I'll illustrate like a really nice way of going about Greasefang, and maybe a really nice sequence that you'll see, and you'll be like, oh, we can enable a turn 2 like Parhelion. And it's like, yes, we can. Yes, we can. It's possible, and I will show you exactly how to do it. But some of this is just from playing the deck. Some of this is just from goldfishing, and you're like, holy crap, that's a really nice sequence, And there's just, some really cool RNG with this card. But basically, you're going to probably most likely play this on 3 and hopefully have a way of putting a vehicle in the graveyard by then. And in the best circumstance, you have something that re-enables the putting that artifact back into the graveyard, because what we'll do is if it goes on the battlefield with Greasefang, it will pop back to your hand at the end of the end step. So you want to make sure you put the vehicle back into the graveyard somehow. So Greasefang just enables that really nice stuff, and it's really seamless. All the cards work together very, very much together, so I think you'll enjoy it very much. And without further ado, let's kind of get into the juice. And we'll just start off with the Valor's flagship here. You'll notice that what makes this really exceptional, these Aetherdrift vehicles, is that the ones I've included mostly have an ability to cycle themselves, which is kind of unheard of for Greasefang, because typically we'd have to jump through a couple hoops to kind of get the vehicles into the graveyard. And this one just does it itself for the cycle cost. You could also like mana sync this and make pilots too, which is really nice. The cycling is a bit expensive, but you are getting like a 7/7. You're drawing a card, and we definitely don't mind a 7/7 lifelinker in the air. We just love that. That's a good swing of life. So we do enjoy this new card from Aetherdrift. It's fantastic. The Mythic. This is the believers are definitely into this one, and I want to thank the person who is kind of really heading this home. I definitely want to kind of give the Hamsphere like first chair, for instance, and like our Entomb, kind of choice. Obviously, I love the Parhelion or Reaver Titan. I've done that before, and I'm just happy about doing that. Who's not when you have like 13 damage going in the air and you have 2 Vigilant Angels that are just sticking to the battlefield? This one actually offers like kind of a scaling way of like removing things too in more ways, additional a couple of different crewers as well. Maybe not as, powerful as the Angels are, but I think the removal is very interesting as well. And I think that's kind of what is appealing about this card. And this thing is going to get a little bit stronger for how many hamsters you come on. It's going to come on the battlefield. We're going to crew it with a Greasefang. We're going to attack. We're going to make those 3 hamsters, and then we're going to deal 3 damage to a target. And like I said, it's just going to scale up. So that could be devastating. I mean, especially in early sequence of the games, just having like a thing that scales damage and does damage and creates more bodies, I feel like it does have a good option, and we'll definitely consider this. And I think I'll probably will just do it as my next Greasefang deck. If we do have that Entomb kind of verified, niceness where we're just getting the Ham's Fire out like turn 3. Yeah, I'd like to try to do that. So. Of course, we're playing 99 cards, so it's not always going to work out exactly like that, but overall the deck does function, and you'll see that we definitely include like vehicles of all sizes and shapes. We're not just like limited to the super bombs. It's just to make the deck seamless and kind of effect. If I can give an example, we have like a Mukotai Soul Ripper, for instance, and that's way that those smaller vehicles can crew our. We have a cynical loner, and that has to be tapped. And like, who else is going to tap that except like a little vehicle that's already been casted? So yeah, we definitely like that kind of addition of little vehicles. We have vehicles that love to see other vehicles, like the Surge Hacker Mech, and that will do damage to a target based on the amount of vehicles you have. So it's very vehicle centered. I think we have about 31 artifacts in this deck, and most of them are vehicles. I think at least like 25 of them. This one is looking real nice. This one, Salvation Engine, it just looks like the new kid on the block. It's just, in some circumstances, if we have like a nice sequence of crewing, like, for instance, Hotshot Mechanic to Guardian of Nubenalia, and then all of a sudden we're putting a Salvation Engine and some other nasty vehicle in the battlefield or in the graveyard, we're just entombing those. And then all of a sudden the Salvation is popping out, and then we're attacking and swinging with this, and we're sticking another, devastating, dangerous vehicle into the graveyard, into the battlefield permanently. So we just love the Greasefang. You guys are going to love this stuff. I'm telling you, man, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Demonic Junker, this one has the affinity, so this one's just like kind of easily castable because we have so many artifacts on the battlefield. So this one's just going to have that affinity. It's going to reduce its casting cost by the amount of artifacts that it sees on the battlefield. So that's nice. So at the very least, we can cast this. Otherwise, we kind of lock down opponents with this. This could also be like another interesting choice, like, maybe if your opponents were getting off to a hot start, with their creatures, for instance, we can just recycle this over and over again and destroy all their creatures. Because it's for each player, destroy up to one target creature just when this thing enters. Whew, it's just really good, guys. I don't know what to tell you. And this one is also awesome because the Detention Chariot is just going to cycle itself for one planes. It's great. And it's a 6/6 nasty thing that, can hit tokens. And we just love this thing. We just love all of it. So it is opponents only for this, so there's no like blinking shenanigans for us, but we can definitely get kind of nasty with this thing. So we like the Detention Chariot. That's the new stuff, guys. I hope you enjoy it. So here's some newer cards for me that we put into the deck to kind of just get it to an interesting state. And I do like Liliana. I do like the fact that this has some interaction. I do also like that we can discard a card as well, and kind of keep that vehicle sauce going and not be too sad about it. So I think we just kind of like that about that Liliana, action. Of course, like in the worst case scenario, we can have our opponent sacrifice something, so it's a little bit more action, and a little more interaction for us. And I think it goes a long way. I think that's just a solid card for us. This is also a newer card for the list, and I just kind of did my research on the Greasefang and kind of just wanted to put all the tools I could together. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. Hit me with a subscribe if you love the Greasefang. If you haven't already, you're probably a fan of it, but I appreciate it. You share with your friends or hit a like or comment. Help this video get out there. This is going to be a Greasefang 2.0, and this is all the great upgrades. So I hope you enjoy it. This is going to be the card that will actually let us loot. And that's each player will loot, so that's really nice. I mean, that's just great to have a land that can just have that ability. Like, it's just kind of extra credit. It just produces a colorless by itself. Otherwise, we're going to pay that 2 and tap, and each player draws a card, then discards a card. And any way that we can kind of pop those vehicles back that do pop back to our hand, back into the graveyard, just redundancy of that is really important. So all are welcome. There we go, baby. I thought this would be like a really interesting card just to kind of illustrate kind of what's going on with the Greasefang and what it's all about. I think the Necron Monolith kind of sums it up. Just look at this card, guys. It's a flying indestructible. Look at this thing. Look at the picture. It's like this crazy monolith with Necrons in it, and it's just flying around and smacking people. It's indestructible, dude. What is this thing? It's just crazy. And Crew 4, they're all built for Greasefang. It's just crazy. This Warhammer series was great for Greasefang. It's just unbelievable stuff. So this one is really cool too, because this maybe if you don't have too much going on in your graveyard, you want to kind of give yourself a chance. You know, the Necron Monolith might be your choice. You know, maybe this is your go around. If you don't have not too much going around, you know, not any way to sacrifice your vehicles freely, but you want to kind of give yourself a chance. The Necron Monolith can kind of get there, right? Kind of can give you a chance for more milling. So I mean, to talk about my milling is like moving cards from your top of your library into your graveyard, and that will give us more chances to see more vehicles. Here's the aforementioned Parhelion, just never a bad choice. I don't know, like in a Brawl format, this is on turn 3, but there's not many decks even on Brawl that can compete with this. I think Greasefang is like got to be like S tier. I really do like it. Obviously, it's an all-star and pioneer. I feel like it just probably can translate to a lot of formats, and you won't be too sad about it. This card is just obnoxious. You know, this thing hasted and creating, 13 power flying on the battlefield. It's just very good. What can we say about this? And just doing it over and over again is devastating. The Reaver Titan has another, shoot in the pool, if you would say, because this thing is just absolutely devastating as well. If you play this early enough, each of your opponents are going to take 5 just from it attacking. And then additionally, this thing's going to go in unblocked because your opponents aren't going to have that kind of setup yet, because it's got protection from mana value 3 or less. So if you're playing on this turn 3 and they don't have anything over mana value 3, they're just going to take 10 to the face. So it's stupid good. I mean, this thing's like a $20 card. It was like only like a $5 card at one time. I should have gotten a lot more. Same with the Thunderhawk Gunship. If you guys have been with me for a while, I've had these cards. These cards were dirt cheap. Now they're like really expensive. I think this one's like $15. So yeah, this one is just a really nasty one. It's going to turn all your attackers into flyers, which is really nice. It's also going to create tokens when it enters, so de facto. So you're going to get some bodies out of it. It's a great card. Low cross crew, only 2. I played this at a casual commander night, probably a year or 2 ago. The opponent was very excited about this. It was like, oh, we're playing like battle cruisers in Magic. Yeah, I was like, hell yes, we are. Yes, baby. The battle cruisers. Yeah, super sick. Yeah, we're definitely in the space. Greasefang is a pilot. She's updated her license. She's flying around in the space shuttle now. And this is the Doctor Who cyber ship. This is obviously a goofy 8/8 flyer. It's so nasty. And it connects. We create some Cyberman artifacts from our opponent's library, so we start milling them slowly and through damage. Here's the Pride Wind. This one has implications for you want to play other non-creature artifact spells. So whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 2/2 white human knight creature token, and it gets 2/2 as long as an artifact entered the battlefield under your control is turned, so it gets a little bit stronger. So I like the Pride Wind. That's from the Fallout series, by the way, if you're a fan. Sky Sovereign console flagship. This is probably one of my favorite vehicles. Great and constructed, just a really bad mama. 5 generic mana or 5 colorless. Not such a bad casting cost, really. And then when the hasted, it gets even better because you're doing 6 to the face usually. You're also taking out 2 targets or just 1 larger target because it does 3 upon each instance of entering and attacking. So it's just really nice for us. Mysterious Limo. This one is also just kind of a nice one. You might have some circumstances where you might want to crew up a Night Paladin and eat it when a Mysterious Limo when it comes down the battlefield. And then when you attack with a limo, for instance, the Night Paladin pops back out, and then it has that enter the battlefield of draining your opponents for, I think it's about 5 life when the Night Paladin does that. So yeah, we have some nice enter the battlefield triggers for some of our vehicles, and this might be a circumstance where you want to kind of eat one of your things because it's not exclusive to opponents' things. You can also eat your opponent's tokens. And for instance, you might not want to eat anything when it comes down, but when you swing with it, you might want to eat like an opponent's creature to kind of clear the way. So it does have like a lot of implications in that manner. Here's that Night Paladin I was, regarding that just does 4 damage upon each opponent. Upon entering the battlefield, that's really nice. Has trample, really low crew cost, fantastic. Here's the Nautiloid ship, and also just like a really sweet card that's going to exile your opponent's one of your opponent's graveyards when it enters the battlefield. So that's nice. And then in addition, when it deals combat damage, your player may put a creature card exile with Nautiloid ship on the battlefield under your control. Fantastic. So yeah, we're just never going to be like upset about doing that ever in any circumstance. So what a lovely card still. Just lovely crew costs all around. Just, I don't know. I hear like a lot of people would say, I'm not getting into vehicles. Like a lot of big content creators and just people in general. I think you're going to love it, man. These clunky things. They're just really strong. They just do strong things. Like usually they have flying or trample, and they usually have either enter the battlefield characteristics or combat damage characteristics, and they're just very utilitized. I mean, this Weatherlight will just will look, 5 deep and get you a historic card into your hand. It's freaking awesome. I love the Weatherlight. Here's a Smuggler's Buggy. This thing can just pop off by itself. If we're going into Smuggler's Buggy, this is just castable, and you can just like sacrifice it and repeat and re-rinse with Greasefang and just get those hideaway cards. It just has to deal combat damage, and then you get to play that hideaway card for free. It's amazing. Here's a Surge Hacker mech, so this gives us a little bit of interaction with our opponent's creatures and planeswalkers, so that's nice. Going to see the vehicles and do 2 damage for each of those it sees. Peace Walker Colossus. This is like our vehicle lord. It's a cheap costed card, and then for the 1 in the planes, you can turn your vehicles into creatures. You don't even have to crew them, so that's a really nice effect. And it's the other target vehicle creature vehicles, not itself. So there is that. Here's your Reckoner Bankbuster with a perfect 2-drop for us. We'll just draw a bunch of cards. We love to exhaust all those charge counters and make that pilot and make that treasure. Amass a ton of cards with this. A great vehicle. Was banned in Standard at one time. Mistakenly, obviously. Here's Smuggler's Copter, and this one is the one that's going to either attack or block, and then you get to loot with it, so that works for us. We want to put cards into the graveyard, so it's just a nice defender. It can get offensive, can synergize with us. Soul Ripper is very nice because we have a lot of vehicles that get value based on their attacks only. So, we won't mind shredding a Mukutai Soul Ripper when it attacks. We can stack these effects upon each other and get the Parhelion back in the graveyard. Put some counters on this, make the Soul Ripper a little stronger, keep those angels. We just love it. Mukutai Soul Ripper. Here's the Shriekhorn. So now we're going to build our graveyards up. There's many clever ways to do this. Shriekhorn is probably one of your better options because this thing is just going to mill lots of cards for a very low mana contribution. Just 1 generic, and you're going to mill basically, if you drop this on turn 1, you'll have 2 into the graveyard. On turn 2, you'll have 4. Turn 3, you'll have 6. So it just amasses a lot of cards, and we get a lot of looks before Greasefang comes down. Soul Ring, just for some ramp. This is our artifacts section. We have our beautiful Arcane Signet by Dan Frazier there. Got the beautiful Moxes there, beautiful stuff. Here's the Mind Stone. I like this for Mana Rock because it's never quite dead. You can always draw with it. I just love that about the Mind Stone. You can add colorless or just draw. It's a great Mana Rock. Really good stuff. Here's our Altar. So this thing is like our kind of free sacrifice outlet. And we just love this because it just sticks on the battlefield, and it actually will build our graveyard up, give us more looks at our graveyard. It will be very good for our Strionic Resonator, right? Because we want to double up the effect of Greasefang, and that's when we're doing things that are more efficient and will help our game plan, and we'll be able to compete. So yeah, we like the Ultimate Dementia just to build our graveyard and to keep those vehicles going into the graveyard. Lightning Grease for a little protection for Greasefang, our girl. Equip cost 0, fantastic. Also can maybe haste one of our vehicles that wasn't brought in by Greasefang. Strionic Resonator, this was for the 2 in a tap. Of course, we get to copy maybe an Enter to the Battlefield trigger or one of Greasefang's triggers. Seems fine, seems great. Seems much better than Roaming Throne, to be honest, in my opinion, in this circumstance. Mesmeric Orb, this one is just going to build our graveyard up. More looks, the better. More looks, the better for vehicles. Bolas Citadel, just to be like a hammerlock and just to get an extraordinary amount of value from it. Start casting cards freely from the top of our, from our library. So we love that very much for the Bolas Citadel. Yep, the thing about that, of course, is that you have to pay life for those spells. Excuse me 1 second. All right, back to the action. All right, so here's the Stitcher Supplier, and these are getting into our creatures. So the function of our creatures is either going to be putting cards into our graveyard through mill, like milling cards, like randomly, like that RNG factor. We'll also have creatures that just will freely discard from our hand, and that's a little bit more controlled. But they all have a purpose. It's not like we have like a million cards that just creature cards that just discard freely. So we have a mixture of everything, and it just works together very well to synergize our game plan at all. We just want to make sure we're putting a massive amount of things in our graveyard. We want as many looks as possible. It just synergizes with our other cards as well. So here's a Stitcher Supplier. So this one will just, when it enters the battlefields or dies, mill 3 cards. Fantastic. Putrid Imp, this would be the one that will just freely discard for that low cost of black. We just love it. Just freely discard from there, from our hand. So that you can see that's also very, you can repeat the process too. So if you have a big vehicle in your hand, Putrid Imp can just dump it off before combat, and then you move to combat and it's ready to go. Viscera Seer is like our nice little action there, right? And someone even loves this with a Bolas Citadel to kind of like keep our action up if we ever break, maybe hit a couple lands. We can kind of sacrifice some cards, keep our Bolas Citadel going. So the Viscera Seer is just going to be really nice. It's just going to, also freely sacrifice things, which we love. We don't have to invest in anything. It just says sacrifice a creature. So have this sequence, Viscera Seer, Unmarked Grave, Greasefang, Hamsphere. Okay, now we're getting into the juice, and we can even send some of those little squirrels off to their death. If we want a kind of little peek, we can scry with this sucker too. Crazy. And then you just sacrifice the Hamsphere and keep the train going for the next turn. It's great. Here's Hot Shot. This will just crew like basically all our things, even like our salvation engine. So it will just really help us get there. Along with Greasefang, right? That could crew like 7 power by itself and Greasefang. Here's Skrelv, just for a little protection, and it's an artifact, so it kind of synergizes like with our Detention Sphere or the Demonic Junker, I believe it was called. The affinity for artifacts. Also with, in the worst case scenario, Oswald Finnebender could like maybe sacrifice this and get in that train going with where, going up the chain of artifacts. So whatever it is, it's just great. Skrelv, protect our stuff, please. Esper Sentinel is to draw a bunch of cards. And in some circumstances, maybe if we drop this on turn 1, and it could also act as a discard outlet. If we draw enough cards, if people play enough non-creature spells, for instance, for whatever reason, maybe we can start actually actively discarding to our hand size, which would be very interesting. There's another kind of effect like that in this deck called Land Tax. So we'll get to that. This one will just freely discard a Cabal Initiate. Undead Butler will actually mill cards into the graveyard. And when it dies, you can return a creature card to your hand if you exile the Butler, which is nice. So you get a little bit more graveyard stuff. Seasoned Hollowbade, this is the freely discarding way. Just to freely discard, this will also be a nice crewer. These are really nice, these discard ones. Usually they have high power, so usually they're very good at crewing as well. So, you could like crew, for instance, on a combat step, and then, or before your combat step, and then you can go ahead, just freely discard, and it will just redundantly tap itself, and it'll be indestructible. So they're very hard to interact with too. Here's that Cynical Loner. Obviously, it's an interesting card, like that 3/1. And if it's untapped in our second main, then we just go ahead and put anything from our library into our graveyard. It's fantastic. That's what we love, is those Entomb effects. Here's Oswald Fiddlebender, and this is just the one that's going to obviously not a free sack outlet, but you're getting so much out of it for a plains and a tap. You're going to be sacrificing your gnarlier vehicles, and you're getting into something else, like another, that will stick onto the battlefield. So we do love the Fiddlebender very much. Here's the guard, and I mean, it serves the function of, putting stuff back in the graveyard, so that's what we love. Very efficient deck. I think you're going to be surprised with the consistency. This Guardian of New Benalia is a standard all-star with a Monument of Endurance. I don't know if we have enough discarding outlets here for like a Monument, but I definitely will see my Monument in my Evora deck for sure. But this one is just perfect too. I mean, you can even get busy. Don't sleep on that damage. You don't have to necessarily have these untapped to ditch vehicles in the graveyard. These can start swinging too. So we like the Guardian. Here's the Fleeting Spirit. This one, probably a little tips for this one is that you just want to make sure that you probably want to have it available for crewing. So you're likely going to want to ditch your vehicles during your opponent's end step or prior to their end step as they move to their end step, so that it will just basically return for your turn without having summoning sickness if you did want to attack with it, and it would also be available for accruing. So that's something to consider because it will only return on end steps. Stinkweed Imp. So this one is a dredger. We love this. We just want to put this into our graveyard and start dredging cards. It's fantastic. I never had a bad experience. I think people just love the Imp. Get this thing and just say hey, whenever I draw a card instead, I'm just going to dredge 5. It's fine. We could return this to a card. You can rinse and repeat, build up that graveyard. Seems great. Seems really good. Here's Braids, the Arisen Nightmare. This also just allows us to sacrifice things. So, we're going to sacrifice whatever we got on the battlefield. In an early sequence, it might be even an Arcane Signet that we're sacrificing just to get those cards. If our opponents can't sacrifice one of those things, we're just going to, they're going to lose life and we're going to draw. It's fantastic. It's a lot of cards available for Braids. Lurrus is a fine choice. I think you'll love Lurrus in this deck. If things of ours get removed, just send it back into the grave. And we'll just fish it back out. Easy as that. Lurrus says, hey, you got a Guardian of New Benalia in there? Let's go get it. You got a Soul Ring in there? Let's go get it. It's hey, you got stuff in there? I'm going to fish it out for you. And we love that about Lurrus. Fantastic in this deck. Rankle is just a powerhouse, probably in our top tier. The fact that you can get value for sacrificing your vehicles upon the combat damage being done, and then your opponent having to sacrifice their own creatures is really nice. We can all freely discard, which we love to do. We can all group hug. We can all draw a card and lose a life. And we're going to probably do all those things at once. Everyone's going to have a great time with Rankle. Witch Enchanter. This one is just a really nice land. It could be a land, or it could just be a creature that drops down the battlefield and gets an artifact or enchantment. Fantastic. Here's our enchantments. So we're at land tax here. And this one's just a really interesting one. I don't think you're ever going to hate it. It's just basically a 1-mana draw 3. So, I don't know if we have enough basic land cards in this pile, kind of looking at land tax right now. So I definitely want to kind of keep that in mind. And that's also why I kind of do these deck techs. I think I'm only running 3 of each. We're probably gonna have to run at least 10 basics, I think, to properly run a land tax and not be too mad about it. So we'll definitely get back into the bin. We definitely have some kind of cheeky cards that we probably can they're not necessarily I mean, I'm thinking of for instance a Plaza of Heroes, or we have a Plaza. We also have a Spire of Industry. Those we can probably rebasic those back up. So I think we want to kind of get at least to 5 for the land tax. So we'll keep that in mind because I definitely want that to do it. But again, once again, we play this on turn 1. We flood our hands. We flood our hand with lands. And then when we go to our discard step, we can actually discard a vehicle, and that's another way to entomb. Very interesting kind of way to go about it, but I think it will work. All right, here's the Ripples of Undeath. This one is just going to love to see us put cards into the graveyard once again. We'll pay a 1 and a couple life, and we'll just put that card. It's a really nice selection, fantastic for us. The Meat Hook Massacre to get some drains from all the things that are dying on our battlefield, plus to kill like our opponent's stuff as well. Seems good. Just basically punishes them, right? Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life. That's fantastic. Whenever a creature an opponent controls died, you gain 1 life. Great. Timurit Calls the Dead. And this one is a really great card. It's going to mill so many cards, and it's going to make some bodies for us too, for our crewing of vehicles. We'd love to hit the board with some bodies, that builds the graveyard. It does that function just great. Bone Shards, this is some removal. This one meets the function of either discarding or sacrificing a creature. So we want to do both of those things. We want to re-sacrifice our vehicles. We don't want them to sit into our hand. We want them to go back to the graveyard. Otherwise, we can also just discard freely with this Bone Shards as well. So an early step, if we have a big vehicle in our hand, we can Bone Shards a creature and just discard that vehicle. And then when Greasefang's ready, it's just popping that thing back out. It's great. Unmarked Grave, this is just going to entomb anything that's non-legendary into our graveyard. Fantastic. Rite of Oblivion, a little bit of removal here, exile removal. Also, we can flash this back from our graveyard too for that 4 cost. Fantastic. Sacrifice a vehicle, exile something on our opponent's side, anything. That's great. Toxic D, we're just smacking our opponents around, of course, like always. We love we have vehicles, so we're not too invested into the board. And we have the vehicles to do the work, right? So we can Toxic D the board sometimes and be very happy about it. We might have to. Akadem's Awakening. This is just to, bring some stuff back from our graveyard to the battlefield. Fantastic. Or a land. It's great. Here's Amiria's Call. This is just the angels. It's the angel, baby. And yeah, we don't mind this. This is like a card that you might hit with your Smuggler's Buggy, and then all of a sudden you have 2/4/4 angels on the battlefield all at once. It's fantastic. Entomb. So yeah, we like this. This is the perfect card. It's an instant speed, which is really crazy. And we'll put any card in our library into the graveyard, so you have that free choice of vehicles. Malika Rebirth, just to have a little protection for our things. For instance, we might even want our vehicles to stick. We might Malika Rebirth one of our vehicles and then sacrifice it, and then we'll just stick to the battlefield. Bitter Triumph. This will be to discard a card, which we'll want to do, right? And then we'll destroy target creature, planeswalker at instant speed for that 2 cost. And then Fell the Profane. It could be a land or destroy target creature or planeswalker. Nice little Orzhov list. Nice tidy one here. Just have to kind of work on our, getting our basics up, it looks like. But the Shadowy Backstreet might just be the most busted card in this deck. It might just be that card that you play, in an early turn cycle, say turn 1, and you might just hit the mega load. You might just hit a sweet vehicle, and then all of a sudden it's in your graveyard, and you didn't have to do anything. It's just that good. It's wonderful stuff. Phyrexian Tower, this is kind of that kind of where you get into that rarefied territory, right? For instance, let's imagine that we turn 1, get it into a fetch land, and we get into our Godless Shrine. We play our Stitcher Supplier, and then all of a sudden we mill 2 vehicles, 2 mega vehicles. Maybe it's a Parhelion and a Rolling Hamsphere, or a Salvation Engine and a Rolling Hamsphere, or any combination of 2 vehicles. And then all of a sudden we bust down the Phyrexian Tower, and now we sacrifice our Stitcher Supplier. We mill more. Now we have 3 into our mana pool. We can cast Greasefang, and Greasefang's already enabled on turn 2. It's just insane. It's just the most insane stuff. You're going to love this stuff. I can't tell you. There's not many cards. There's not many decks that turn 2 can put 8+ power onto the battlefield, or affect the board in some characteristic in that manner that just doesn't exist. It really doesn't. So this is just crazy stuff. It's just super strong, of course. Really good sequencing. High Market is also going to be that nice one that's going to sacrifice. So we just keep on putting those vehicles back into our graveyard. We love it. Takenuma, this one is going to obviously be played as a land or mill cards into our graveyard, and then we return a from the graveyard. It doesn't be from that milled card, a creature or planeswalker. So sweet. Or just be a land. Cavernous Souls to give our blue mages a headache, of course, very headache-inducing card by naming, Rat and like having Greasefang come in uncounterable. Here's Urza Saga just to find that Shriek no Soul Ring, of course. Castle Lothwain just to get some cards. What a fantastic card. So there's a Spire Industry. I think I'll just kind of put that one to the side. It's a nice duel for us. Probably Exotic Orchard too. We'll probably just put these to the side so far as to make those basics for our land hacks. Yeah, we don't want to like run out of basics, especially with so many fetches. Mech Hanger we'll keep because this one will actually crew your vehicle without having have to have a creature on the battlefield. It'll just be 3 and a tap, and then target vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So we just love the Mech Hanger. Plaza, I can see us kind of getting away from the Plaza too. So we're looking pretty good with our basic count. Mana Confluence, this is just kind of non-negotiable. These lands are just beautiful. They just, will do a damage to us, but they just act as any color. Command Tower, of course, fantastic. Shattered Sanctum, this would be on the slower side, but it's still like a really nice duel. Vault of Champions, okay, the 2 or more opponents clause, fantastic duel for us. Fetid Heath is fine too. It's just going to be like a nice little duel. All of these are great duel lands. Yeah, even the Pain Land, these are just fine. Yeah, the Pathway is fine. The Prismatic Vista. Yeah, maybe we just kind of maybe drop a fetch, but I don't know. Fetches are so good too, But we're pretty close. I think we're kind of getting close on our land count kind of for our land tax now. It's looking better. I think 9 is better than 6. That's for sure. But yeah, these fetches are just very good. And here's our basics. Here we have 3 swamps and 3 plains. And I think we'll probably just go probably 5 swamps, 4 plains, and just kind of try that out first to see how it goes. And that'll be the deck. So this was Greasefang today. Hope you all enjoyed that deck tech. This was a fantastic work. I don't know where it goes from here, but I see the lists and I think they're mostly similar to mine. I know people run like Sandwell and Imotech. I think those cards are really good, and I definitely want to try them out eventually. But at this moment, I just kind of really dig having a lot of cards that kind of actively seek to put things into the graveyard. And yeah, I feel like I'm kind of set on that kind of exchange for it now, and in a very efficient manner. I'm kind of committed to doing the thing, and I know people also like to play more creatures into their because you're building the graveyard so well, right? I totally understand that. I totally get that sentiment of putting in a Valgovoth and reanimate and stuff like that to kind of have another angle of attack. There's just so many good vehicles though. It's hard to say no. It really is. It's I really want to see vehicles into my graveyard more so than not with Greasefang. I'd be kind of devastated if I was actively milling cards and I couldn't put in I didn't have a vehicle to resurrect. I don't know. That would just be kind of very sad for me. So this is definitely meant to do the thing. It's committed to do the thing. I hope you enjoyed seeing kind of the action here. It does work. I've been playing it and testing it on Brawl. I did a live for it, and I kind of was preparing to seeing what cards I kind of liked, maybe what was still missing. How this changes from the Brawl list to this is the vehicles just get better in quality, and you're just playing more higher powered vehicles. You have about 4 or 5 vehicles from the Warhammer series, for instance these ones, that are simply just not available in Brawl. So yeah, that's kind of the major difference between the two. But I'll put both of the lists anyways. You can kind of see the transformation. It took a hot minute to kind of put this deck together because I want it to be as pure as possible. This is the 100 cards that you see, in its form. So, I have to go through some of my decks and be pulling where's my damn Cavernous Souls? Where is it? It's in my Maria deck, my CEDH Maria deck. And I'm just geez, I looked through 8 other decks before I even looked there. So it's a problem. But other than that, this was fun, and it's always kind of an enjoyable experience. So thanks for sharing this with me. I know this will get us to the 300 subs, so I'm excited to get there, and then to 400. It will be great. Again, we're going to be sending you these cards. You just have to be commenting. That's the only criteria, man. Just commenting on my video. And, you know, I'm kind of amassing the comments and from prior videos that have been done. And I just kind of, you know, check off a user for that particular video. And, you know, I'm going to put it into a random number generator and we'll be giving these suckers away. And then for 400 subs, we're going to be giving away a great henge at the very least. So let me just kind of show you that. So I have my sweet binder here. Ugh. So I got a couple of them. I got a nice foily one there. So maybe that will be the one. That one, and you know, I don't know. Another cool card. You know, we'll have to go through the, you know, the action here, but you know, I don't know. I have some really sweet cards. Maybe one of these artifacts might pique your interest here. Yeah, we'll do like a, you know, make it simple, you know. I might add like some over the course, like, you know, as we move to 350. Oh boy, Jeweled Lotus. No one uses that anymore, right? Anyways, so yeah, definitely the Great Henge will be in that 400 one, so we're looking forward to that. So yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. Have a great day. Goodbye.